Adam Pennington, my boss, lead of attack. Thanks so much. This is your first time.
This is my first time because I've been emceeing in the past. I've never been able to make it over here before.
I'm so excited. Oh, welcome.
I'm very
Welcome
glad
to
to
the
be
Couch
here.
Talks where your
Very glad,
pillows
very
are on
glad to be
display.
my home couch pillows that I brought with me.
So out of all of these pillows, what is your favorite one? And we have one sneaking back here that I'm leveraging.
It's probably Gatekeeper Bypass.
Thank you.
I love Pascal's work on that. So all these images, all the stickers are created in-house by an artist named Pascal Bernard. And he did some great pixel art on this one for the wizard saying, "You cannot pass."
I helped with that design.
It took a lot to make sure we had the quote right.
I know.
But we got there.
I think I misquoted. Maybe. And then maybe this is Adam's way of subtly calling me out that I misquoted Lord of the Rings because I was like, "Thou shalt not pass," and he's like, "Actually, Kat, it is you cannot pass." So, all right. So questions. Where you get a ton of contributions. We are down to 3.5 font now, as we saw, which I love how our measure of success is in how small our font size gets. What would you say is one of the biggest challenges that you're kind of looking forward into the future that you see for attack?
So in terms of the contribution space, some of it is just a broader understanding of the scope of attack. We do have a lot of people still who don't necessarily realize that we don't focus on red teaming techniques. That attack is threat intelligence driven. We're looking for things that adversaries have done. We also see a lot of stuff concentrated in areas that are pretty well covered. And so we're looking for some of those new spaces. And yours is definitely one of them, Linux, where it's a very difficult security community. As we've learned over time, there's almost no conferences focused on operational Linux security.
Yeah.
And so there isn't that community there in the same way that there is even in Mac, where you have things like Objective by the Sea, and some communities out there. And so finding those pockets of people that really know the space and can see what's going on.
I would almost say it's almost like if we even look at the Mac OS space in comparison to Linux, you have one security researcher that drove that entire industry, if we're being real. He started off in government and then left government and then started working in other companies and then left those companies to actually just do his own thing and wound up building out security tools and made them all open source and then started his conference and was just doing reverse engineering on macOS malware. And that's Patrick Wardle. Yep. And he literally is the world's leading force that there is a macOS security industry because of that one person.
Oh, and an incredibly nice guy.
Oh, yeah. Great human on all levels. Even created a nonprofit to help underrepresented populace be able to build up themselves in macOS. There doesn't seem to be that anything with a person driving that though with Linux, which is crazy because it kind of does tell you one person actually does make a difference. Because you see that in the macOS, and Linux has been around for so much longer, and it has nothing like that.
Well, the security interest is a little bit different. With it being open source, a lot of the interest is in improving open source security, code security, in writing secure code, which is important and very useful, but it's not attack space. That's focusing in on the vulnerability space rather than adversary behaviors.
I think that's probably so. Would you say that's one of the biggest challenges with a lot of contributions, or people trying to map to attack where it's this is actually a vulnerability rather than a behavior?
We see that sometimes, definitely, where, and again, that also comes back to the, looking for things that are real, looking for things that have actually happened. We are tracking on vulnerabilities. We're tracking on what an adversary could do. But attack's focus, when we add it into attack, is what did an adversary actually do? And most vulnerabilities are never taken advantage of. There are far more CVEs than there are exploits.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. I've run into the same thing where you're this is not a red teaming thing. This is actually a normal computer behavior that's supposed to be done. It's just being leveraged by adversaries. And now it's presented to you in a way that you can actually track it.
And adversaries often operate like a really good sysadmin, somebody that knows their network, knows that their ins and outs. In fact, when we've done adversary emulation in the past, when we were looking for teams that didn't need a script, didn't need a list of techniques. Working with a Windows domain admin was actually some of the best adversary recreation we've seen. He didn't know what adversaries looked like. It just happened when we asked him to get from point A to point B in a Windows network. He looked like an adversary.
Wow. Yeah. I noticed during your talk you talked about like you dropped the bomb like hey, all right, so we're like there was like a lot of comments about being a Rosetta Stone for all of the group names. So like what made you finally talk about that this year in your talk?
It's really, we want to get the feedback. We want to put something a bit spicy out there that we know is a bit spicy out there, in hopes of attracting both the slings and arrows and sort of the community. We want to know who might be able to and willing to help us in this mission. And we really want to get a solid handle on what are the downsides. We know there are reasons not to do this. But we think that those are possibly outweighed by the positive. The group naming space has become a tangle. We're not trying to get people to stop using their current names. We're just trying to get people to tie them to an identifier where you might be able to see these groups all together.
So what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for this going forward?
Resources is big, but we also we'd actually need to release ATT&CK on a faster scale than we are right now. We'd have to be putting out group information on an almost continuous basis to keep up with names. We'd have to accept a large quantity of contributions to make sure we're adequately covering the naming space. And so there'd be a lot of work to do.
So in everything that you were able to present, was there something that you weren't able to kind of talk about and present?
I mean, so honestly, a lot of it is me leaving pieces to my leads, and so making sure that we're getting the people out there who are doing the work, working with their teams, and getting them out there on stage in their own space. And so most of the stuff that I left out, hopefully you will still see over the next couple of days.
So last question. Since this is your first time on the Couch Talk, and I love asking the quirky question, what would you say is probably the quirkiest thing about you?
I really like to take things apart.
You're such a hacker. You're such a hacker, Adam.
No,
you're a tinkerer.
All my life I've liked to take apart electronics, different gadgets, just see what makes them tick inside. And it's something I've never grown out of.
I would say scuba diving is also your quirk too.
I don't know if that's a quirk. It's definitely a passion of mine. I love being down there 100 feet deep, taking pictures of turtles and just relaxing.
But the amount of efforts you will go to the Cayman Islands to be able to go scuba diving is hilarious. You're like, well, I have a day. I can make it.
I definitely need to finish my B-Sides Cayman talk for next week.
So good luck also keynoting that talk, which I cannot wait to listen to and see.
Thank you.
But also thanks for taking some time on the couch. Really appreciate it. It's always cool to hear from the actual overall lead of ATT&CK.
Great to see you. Great to sit here with you, and great to see my pillows up close
from your couch now at work.
Yep.
All right.